Was staying in the U.S., where the former President Donald Trump has said that the Department of Justice and the FBI returned his passports seized during the raid at his Mar-a-Lago residence in Florida last week. The FBI had executed a search warrant to recover classified records from the Florida estate and seized a trove of documents. On Monday, Mr. Trump alleged that the federal law enforcement agency stole 3 passports, one of which he said was expired. As later, a spokesperson for Trump shared on Twitter an email received from a top Justice Department official alerting the former president's lawyers that a passport would be returned. Last week, the FBI reportedly seized 11 sets of classified records during the search of Trump's Florida property, including some materials marked as top secret, sensitive compartment information. And joining us now on Word Now to discuss this is the president, the Movement Pro Pictures, Ibidolakwaja. He joins us virtually from the U.S. Good to have you join us.
Thank you.
We understand that President Trump is now, I just want to being investigated or under investigation for possibly violating the Espionage Act. Now, talk to us about how serious all of these allegations are.
These are very serious allegations because the precedent that the country has had, this is the first time someone will leave office and take classified documents, especially that has state secrets, with them to their personal residence. And this obviously is being revealed to contain information about the U.S. nuclear information that could easily get into the hands of our enemies. And as such, that is a very, very serious offense because you are not supposed to have those documents, more so when the government had requested that this be returned, and even his lawyers denied that he had any classified documents. And at the end of the day, it's not even a matter of it being classified or not. It's just a question of when you have been asked to return documents that belong to the state, you are supposed to do so as the ex-president of the United States. So these documents containing very, very vital information about U.S. Nuclear powers and everything, it's going to be a very, very difficult one for him to defend.
And you said earlier that he's been the first president to keep classified information. I think President Trump basically is an outlier. When it comes to former U.S. president, he's now been investigated on different fronts. And I want to get to that just shortly. But there is another crime here, possibly, according to some attorneys in the U.S. They say that, look, some documents had been returned, about a dozen boxes of documents had been returned. And then there was a document that was signed that there were no more boxes in Mar-a-Lago, and that in itself is a crime. But why do you think that the former president so badly wanted to keep these documents?
For a few reasons. It's been speculated that, actually some people said, well, maybe it's just one of those people that love to hold on to things like a child would want to hold on to maybe toys that they enjoyed playing with. But more seriously, there is news out there that his businesses are in trouble, probably worth over $1 billion is currently due as repayments from some of his operations. And so having such documents that are very valuable to America's high enemies could be something that could be converted to money. And especially when you look at the fact that some of his, some of the people that work with him closely, his associates like Jared Kushner, Steve Mnuchin, they've kind of cashed in since Trump left office. They've had money from, for example, the Saudi government coming to their businesses. So he could be looking at that and thinking, if these guys can do it, I have even more valuable information that could yield a lot more money that will ease his money concerns. So there are so many different reasons why he could be doing this. He will hope that the government is not able to prove that he's into espionage, because that has a serious consequence.
And talking about consequences, it's very difficult, not just in the US, just around the world, to put a former president in jail. And that's most times is because of, it's not just respect for the office, but you also want to consider the privileged information that they have. And so you really don't want to put them in jail with ordinary persons where they could share some of those information. But he has not been charged for any wrongdoing. Do you think that he will be charged? And what sort of consequences do you think he will face?
I'm not a legal expert, so I will not offer what the consequences will be at this time. That will be something that the Department of Justice and the Attorney General of the Federation would determine. But it's basically a situation where the Biden government now finds themselves in, do they press charges against this ex-president? Because right now there is obvious moves by him to enter the race for the 2024 elections. And if he does that, he still has a strong political base in the United States. So his supporters are basically coming across as this is a targeted attempt to stop him from running. And he has a lot of noise coming out in that respect. So it's a tough one for the Biden government because, again, you do not want a serious issue like this to just go unpunished, but at the same time, you have to kind of balance it with not appearing to be targeting a potential opponent that you could be facing at the next election. So it's a tough one. But again, when it comes to this being proven, my belief is that the government is going to try to prove their case that this was a criminal offense and that they will try to do everything to at least follow the rules in making sure that whoever committed such a crime is brought to justice if indeed it is deemed a crime. So there are just so many things that they have to look at in moving this forward. And I think they're taking the right steps. The first being the Attorney General coming out last week and kind of taking away the thunder from Trump because he was getting a lot of his supporters fired up when he came out and said this is something that will only happen in broken third world countries. And should not be happening in the United States of America. You saw a lot of his people even take up arms, targeting FBI offices, targeting the federal judge that that issued the right for them to go to the search warrant. And so, if that narrative is to continue, we're in for a really tough time. So it's something that by coming out, the Attorney General basically refocused the whole issue to what they found and what they're dealing with here. And I think that's where they need to keep pressing it so that it does not take back the narrative because Trump is, as you know, a very, very effective communicator.
He is. And that's where that's probably what I want to touch on. And you touched on the FBI, the attack on the FBI facility. And I also understand there is now increasing threats to federal law enforcement officers, and a statement has been issued out in that regard. But you mentioned that you cannot speak to the legal consequences, but I'm sure you can speak to, I mean, there is a court of public opinion. I'm sure you can speak to that. It has a case in the District of Georgia by the district attorney there concerning the election. There is the January the 6th committee investigating the attack on the Capitol building. And then this particular case as well. When you look at this, there are speculations that he's planning to run and make that announcement. Do you think that he will run if these cases or one of these issues were to find him guilty, or if all of these cases continue, will he be able to run?
In my opinion, it will be very, very difficult to run if any one of these situations are proven to be true. The Georgia situation is actually very, very serious because there is clear evidence that he attempted to interfere in the election results. So a lot of people believe that actually has a quicker route to kind of putting him into jail if they're able to prove it, because you cannot interfere in the U.S. elections. So that's a very serious offense. But again, any one of these situations should really disqualify Trump from running. But he is somebody that you just never know his mindset. If I was to make a bet, I would think he will still throw his hat in the ring just to shake up, the politics. But what he will get, though, people that are true conservatives that will really try to take the narrative back from the Trump base of Trump political machine. And even with Liz Cheney losing a primary bid yesterday, you can also expect to see somebody like that eventually throw a hat into the ring. But my preference would be, if any of these cases are able to move forward, that these men do not continue to cause division in the country and have the country just dealing with his case, because it's just too much right now.
And we'll continue to follow these developments. Thank you so much for talking to us, President, Movement Pro Pictures, Ibidola Ajayi.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.